The future is not set. There is no fate but what you make. I'm not an operational leader, I'm a transformational leader.
When she was 15, she asked her parents for a computer. They said no. So she got a job, researched the architecture, saved for 9 months, and built it herself. That was the last time Kat McCrabb ever waited for permission. Years later, she walked into Centrelink, not to collect a check, but to re-architect how the state protects the vulnerable. Kat McCrabb never asked for a seat at the table. She took it. She climbed to the absolute peak of the cybersecurity machinery. A sudden, terrifying illness stripped away her momentum and left her in total silence. Most leaders protect their status at all cost. Kat used that silence to redirect her entire life, stepping directly into the high-stakes trenches of healthcare defense to build flame-free cyber. She is the elite technologist who deliberately refuses to be the smartest technical mind in the room. The executive who interviews her employers far harder than they interview her. And the CISO warning us that we are entering an era where knowledge is losing its value, and the only asset left that cannot be automated is who you are as a human being. This isn't an interview about cybersecurity. This is an intervention for anyone currently running in fumes. If you are running yourself into the ground, waiting for permission to change a life you already know is broken, stop running. This is life in the trenches. I am the stylish cyber guy. And if you have the courage, as I know you do, or maybe not, tell the others. If this conversation gives you something, clarity, confidence, or simply a different way of thinking, then it's doing its job. This podcast exists to make cyber more human, to create space for leaders to think clearly and grow together without fear. I am Khalil McIntami, the stylish cyber guy. If this conversation resonates, then I simply ask, tell the others. That's how we build this community, one conversation at a time. Kat.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Welcome to the Stylish Cyber Podcast.
Thank you.
This has been a long one coming. We've been going back and forth, you and I, but I'm so excited you are here today. We're going to cover a bit about your origin story, but most importantly, today we are going to be in service to that individual whom is still looking for a voice.
Yes.
The individual whom has reaches the pinnacle of his career and is asking what now,
Yes.
and the individual who is just starting.
Okay, great.
Yeah. In preparing this, I did something interesting. I sat and I said, how do I wanna, first of all, what do I know about Kat?
Yeah.
And let me start from there. So I used Perplexity.
Great.
Of
Okay.
all the AI tools, I used Perplexity, and I said, okay, here's Kat McCrabb. This is what I know about her. Can you do a research for me? Tell me what you could find. I'm gonna read what Perplexity said,
Okay.
and I'm curious, how will you introduce yourself based on how Perplexity also said? So This is me reading Perplexity. Kat looks like a pragmatic GRC leader who is not selling compliance as a paperwork, but as a business capability tied to resilience, leadership judgment, and mission delivery. Her background in federal government and as a CISO for Brisbane Catholic Education appears to shape a people-first, high accountability consulting style focused on government, education, critical infrastructure, and other mission-driven organizations. Now I say, oof, I want to talk to this person. There's a lot there. How will you introduce yourself? And it's Perplexity, right?
I'm not as eloquent as Perplexity. How I typically introduce myself is, hi, I'm Kat McCrabb. I'm a cybersecurity professional with 16 years experience. I spent the first 12 years of my career in the federal public service. Then I became a CISO for the not-for-profit. And now I work in consultancy because my goal is to support many not-for-profits to build their digital resilience so that they can deliver capability that improves communities. I think if you combined my introduction with the introduction that Perplexity has drafted,
Yeah,
you probably start to get a strong sense of me.
I agree. So I want to start from the beginning then. How did you get here?
Well, my last couple of years of high school.
Yes.
Actually, I'll go back a little further.
Please.
So my father had an interest in technology, but he worked for Defence Force on aircraft.
Right.
But his interest in technology piqued my interest in technology. And when I entered my early years of high school, my assessments were starting to be a bit more, needing a bit more technical capability than the family's old 1980s computer.
Wow.
And the internet had just come out. So the ability to access information was much more readily available. And I was really excited about this access to information and ability to innovate using that information.
Right.
And because I had what I viewed as a genuine need, because my school assessments were becoming more technically complex, I asked my parents, would you consider upgrading the family computer? And the answer was no. Okay, well, can I buy one? No. "Mm, Okay, all right, I'm a problem solver. If I can build one, will you let me keep it? And my parents kind of laughed at that, said, oh, Isdal, if you can build a computer, you can keep it.
Uh-huh.
So I built a computer, and that was what I used for most of the rest of my schooling years.
How did you go about taking that challenge? And how old were you at the time?
Mid-teens, so
Okay.
I was able to work. I must have been about 15, 16.
Interesting.
And I just entered the workforce. I was a checkout chick.
Wow. So you started working that early?
Yeah, yep.
My God.
And so used my pay from my checkout role, use the internet to research how does one build a computer. Went to the computer markets once a month on a Sunday. Every time I had a couple of $100, I'd go and buy a new part. Over the period of 9 months, I bought all the parts that I needed,
Wow.
and then it built this computer. And I think I finally finished it when I started year 11, which New South Wales education
Yeah.
the final 2 years.
Yes.
And then that gave me a bit of confidence in my ability to work in IT.
What was that moment when the computer is all done? That first time you turn on that switch on button. What was it like for you?
A bit nerve-wracking. What if I got it wrong and wasted all that money? But no, it was very much a process of continuous learning.
Yeah.
Because I turned it on, it worked really well for a while. And then I wanted to do some things that were a bit more graphically intense. And the graphics card I bought had a fault. And it was an intermittent fault, and so I had to go through that problem-solving process, try some aftermarket drivers, all these little things that you do to try and fix a problem.
Right.
And then it just became this continuous upgrade cycle for a couple of years. And then it reached its end of life. And when I entered uni, I replaced it with a laptop. But that was a really fantastic learning process. And had I not done that, I wonder if I'd have had the confidence to study IT at university. And had I not done that, I very much doubt I'd be in industry today.
Interesting. I'm so intrigued by this story you gave, because so many things have to have happened. You taking that initiative, taking that challenge at that young age. Another thing that comes to mind is I wanted to know your parents' first reaction when they saw that computer.
Ooh, no, I don't recall.
Yeah,
If I had to guess,
yeah,
I'd say my father would have been proud,
yes.
and I'd say my mother would have gone, "Oh, I don't quite understand it, but well done, dolls."
Wow. What was their upbringing like?
So father in the Defence Force, so we
Yeah,
moved around a fair bit.
I see.
There was one year in particular where I went to 6 different schools in a period of 12 months,
Wow.
and that was pretty rough for a young kid.
Exactly. Yeah. I
So
just think you have to always adjust. Yeah.
better, yeah, and early education was a bit disrupted. So I was very fortunate that one of my hobbies was and still is reading, and that was a way that I could educate myself and stay on top. Um, but the things settled down quite a bit when I was in my last couple of years of primary school, and then high school was much more stable. But because of my father being in the Defence Force, there was a couple of years where he lived away from home, come home on the weekends. So that was a little bit of a challenge for the family to adjust to, but with
Yes.
you do that. Um, and um, yeah, I suppose reflecting on that, one of the things that I'm really conscious of was my father has this real propensity to solve his own problems. Should something need doing, he'd build a solution to fix it.
Yeah.
I feel that that has shaped me in a lot of ways.
So you spend a lot of time watching your dad problem solve. What about your mom? What are some of the activities you spend doing with your mom growing up at that period?
Mum's very crafty,
Nice.
as in arts and crafts. So she's also got these real talents with her hands that I just don't. I'm not did it yet way out there. In having said that, that requires problem solving as well.
Big time.
So it's how do I scale this complex design down? And so it was quite funny watching them recreate this pattern in Excel
Hmm.
and then shrink it down so you'd get all the little, the rows of columns and turn them into squares.
Wow.
But some of the things she and I used to do together was quite a bit of time in the kitchen.
Hmm.
And I enjoy food,
Food.
sometimes to my detriment.
Yeah.
But those were the moments where she and I bonded the most.
Wow. So what's your favorite dish as a kid?
Um, as a kid,
Yeah.
I actually really loved the Sunday roast.
Okay.
Mm.
What's that?
Oh, it was the roast lamb or beef or
You okay?
with a whole series of vegetables
Right.
and usually roast potatoes.
Wow.
As an adult, my tastes are a lot more adventurous. I couldn't tell you a favorite. It depends on the weather.
Uh-huh. How you feel it?
I'll lie, chocolate. It's always chocolate.
Wow. Wow. There you go. We should have gotten the chocolate here too. Yeah. That's really cool. Lived in multiple places, have had to adjust most of the time, and then reading has been your escape and a place how you sort of find not only solace but also a way to learn quickly. Can you walk me through the reading aspect? What are some of the books you were reading at the time?
Oh, I liked the mystery novels.
Nice. Okay.
Uh, um, let the actually my mother had this trunk
Yeah, okay.
of books from her childhood, and I've read all these series that she'd read as a kid,
Wow.
like Enid Blyton and I can't recall the names now. I
Yeah.
have to ask her tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, read those voraciously, and then as I got a bit older, it was John Grisham novels, uh, Patricia Cornwell, very much the mystery. kind of
Kind
novels.
of this. Wow, these are all the areas that I am not exposed to. Yeah.
I must be I'm very confident I'm annoying to watch TV with because I'll often guess the end, and I try to keep it to myself. I think I do okay at keeping I
Yeah.
always let people know, "Oh, I've guessed the end, I'm good."
I'm never gonna watch movie with you now.
Don't or the news, I'm
Yeah. Wow. Where does that come from, do you think?
oh, yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's just pattern matching because I've read so many
Yeah.
stories, and when you're crafting a news story, it's based off
Yeah.
an accumulation of every story you've read.
Exactly, right? Isn't it how now, for example, the hero's journey, yeah, it's just an archetype of a story that then people can just use to map out different kind of stories out of it. But then the main architecture is that hero's journey, for example. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Interesting. Wow.
so at the moment, it's a little bit topical, is
Mhm.
we've just had the most recent space voyage, Seven Eves
Mhm.
by Neil Stevenson. It's quite the long novel, but I've found that quite intriguing. It's space travel and
Wow.
the destruction of Earth and having to survive in space. So, if you've got some time and you want a book to read, you might enjoy that one.
Wow. I'm gonna take a note of that. Definitely. Yeah. I'm also thinking, so you grew up in New South Wales?
Yeah,
Yeah,
mostly. Yeah.
mostly. Yeah.
I
So
was
what?
born up here.
Oh, okay, in Queensland.
Don't convert though.
Uh-huh. So what was it like um during your time in New South Wales? What type of friends have you got? And how do you what sort of dreams do you have at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. What yeah.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the fact that I've still got some of my childhood friends,
Amazing.
which is a little bit unique when you both move away from where you met. I attribute the internet to being able to stay connected, but where we lived was a little bit remote. Like you couldn't just walk to your friend's place.
Okay.
And so that led to catching buses everywhere or getting a ride with your parents or what have you. Um, so a lot of time was spent in the immediate suburb that we lived in. You had all the amenities you needed. I went to school about 40 minutes away from where we lived. So
Okay.
I still have habits that I'm an early riser. And so it's like you wake up and you get on with the day, and I still
You still do
do that
that.
habit.
Yeah.
We lived near the beach, which was really quite
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah.
yeah. I'm still not a great swimmer, but that's okay.
Well,
Um, and yeah, so I went to my last school with
yeah.
St Francis Xavier's College,
Mhm.
and it catered just to the final 2 years of schooling, and there was about 1,000 people in my year,
Wow.
which is not very common to have that larger cohort.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can say with great confidence, there's a lot of people who went to my school, were in my year that I never met.
Hmm.
But one of the really great things about that was it offered a really wide breadth of topics that you could study.
Okay.
And you might have got the sense I'm a little bit of a geek.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, you are.
so yeah, that's not a new thing.
Yeah.
I maximize the number of units that I could study,
Wow. Okay.
but equally,
Tell me about that actually. Yeah.
yeah. So I had some that I did because I truly enjoyed them, like
Mhm.
studying French language.
Huh?
Very bad at it, but
Mhm.
I have some French heritage, so I had an interest in it.
Okay.
But I also did two IT topics. One was software development, and the other was I did a certificate three because I felt being able to walk out of high school,
Mm.
one qualification would be
Good. Yeah.
official.
Yes.
And so studying that variety of courses and
Mhm.
having that caseload gave me a bit of redundancy when it came to my UAI being calculated. So
Okay.
university.
Yeah, the university. Yes. Okay.
And so it meant that the topics that I did the best in were the ones which were selected to calculate my score and led to me having a few more further study options. Um, but because when I was reaching the end of my schooling years and starting to think, well, what do I want to do now?
Yeah, good question.
I saw two pathways for myself. And
Alright.
one of them was follow my father's footsteps and join the Defence Force.
Okay.
And the other was higher education. And I remember sitting on the seek.com website, and back then the careers were organized into categories.
Okay.
And at the end of the category, it would tell you the number of positions available. And consistently, IT, highest number of positions available. And so that combined with the fact that I'd just finished building my own computer,
Yeah.
I was doing relatively well in those topics in school. Um, it seemed
The next.
natural choice for me.
Yes.
Should I study, that would be what I would study. Um, but I still tried out for the Defence Force and
Uh-huh.
got pretty far with that. But
Oh, really? You did that? Okay.
yeah,
I didn't know this.
no. So I got to the point where I had an offer on the table here, and I'd accepted the offer. It was contingent on me passing the physical. Guess who didn't pass the physical?
It isn't meant to be okay.
So had I been a better runner,
Okay.
my life would have been completely different.
Absolutely. Wow.
But no, I went to University of Newcastle, and studied IT.
Nice.
And when it came to choosing the option that I wanted to major in,
Yeah.
I actively chose the management stream. And so
So now I have to say, why is that?
several reasons. One, I don't view myself as the strongest technologist. And the second one was I knew I wanted to be in a leadership position. And I felt studying or majoring in management would best equip me for that.
Oh man, this is so fascinating to me. Do you know, I always wonder what are the things, what are the internal story that one has deep inside them that normally make them choose A apart from B. And sometimes also what are some of those inspiration,
Yeah.
yeah, that really shaped that.
Yeah.
What was it for you?
That made me
Yeah.
come out leadership.
Yes, yeah, and you knew deep innately that I think the leadership side is where I'm going, and that's the reason why I want to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. At the risk of talking about it a bit too much, it does have to do with my father's career.
Wow.
But one of these two, and partially because when I was looking at going down that defense pathway,
Yeah.
that selection process involved a series of interviews and panels. And one of the assessments was to discuss leadership.
Oh.
And that led to me talking to a few of the people in the Defence Force who were in officer positions
Yeah.
and in the roles that I wanted to win, should I have been successful down that path. And going, well, I've got this assessment as part of my selection process. Talk to me a bit about leadership for you. And so that led to these really interesting conversations around leadership versus management. And that sparked the interest.
Yes.
Which, looking back on it now, is probably a really odd conversation for someone to be having with.
That is what are you going this oh my god, you just stole my words. That's what I was going to say to you now. I said that's fascinating. You are still making me even more fascinated here because at that age, why?
Couldn't tell you. Yeah, maybe I'm just a little odd.
This is amazing me.
Yeah. But yeah, I did my degree.
Yeah.
In my last year, I for relationship reasons moved to Canberra.
Okay.
But I knew I wanted to work for a not-for-profit or public service organization.
See, that's another point here as well that I really want to understand. I think deep inside you, maybe you are service oriented. And you've mentioned a couple of things that now makes me wonder how much of an influence your father had on you.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, as a young person,
Yeah.
you are, well, throughout life, you are allegedly the sum of the five people you're closest to.
Very true.
And as a young person, the five people you're closest to are going to be the people you live with, which are typically your parents and then siblings
True.
and close friends. So at that period of my life and that age range, I was very heavily influenced by both of my parents. I remember having conversations with my mother about how to have impact in your community. And you don't know what the person sitting beside you is going through outside of your interactions with others. So
Yeah.
bear that in mind when you're having conversations with them. But it's just little moments of impact that you don't necessarily realize are impactful at the time that you have those interactions, but they resonate with you through
Through
life.
life, yeah.
Um, but final year of uni, I thought, well, I recognized even then that the job market was competitive. And
Okay.
I mean, I spent my Easter break in my final year of university applying to every organization I could. And a few of them were federal government.
Okay.
Was selected for a few interviews, received a few offers, and accepted the one with Centrelink. It was the role where a few things drew me to it. One was the social impact,
Okay.
and the other was the scope and breadth of the technical environment.
Hmm.
That at the time, and probably still true, Centrelink had the most technically complex IT environment in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right. Okay.
And I thought, well, if I can make it there, if I'm going to learn that technology stack and have an impact in an organization like that, what a way to start your career.
Absolutely.
I was extremely fortunate that of the pile of resumes, I was one of the few chosen to work in the cybersecurity team.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that
What year was that?
2010.
Wow. My God. Okay.
And it was rare back then for organizations to have a dedicated cyber function.
Exactly.
It was basically government or financial institutions.
The
And I had a few the first year and 18 months, really, you're just learning, you're struggling to truly had impact in that time.
yeah.
You don't have the knowledge or experience there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I must have made an impression because I was really fortunate that in year two, I was given some pretty big projects. So, just an example, one of them was the Centrelink Medicare, Human Services, and a few other departments were merged into one. And that meant integrating onto a common desktop platform amongst other different environments. And so I was given the responsibility and
Of leading that.
well, of leading the cyber initiatives.
Yeah.
So I'm like the email gateway and the web gateways, integrating encrypted email into systems and rolling out antivirus across the new desktop environment. And these were, looking back on it, quite significant projects for someone in their early 20s.
Yes.
And not unsupported. No one works in isolation, but w- quite a quite a wonderful way to start a career.
I agree. How was that experience like for you, and what was the most defining moment working in that space?
Yeah, I don't think I recognized the gravity of what was being entrusted to me. Um, I think I just,
Yeah, just locked in.
yeah,
In a way, it's a blessing too that you didn't recognize. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that was good because I might have got a bit nervous.
Exactly. That's what I was. Um,
But well, the biggest challenge with that was being young and having to influence people to do things that maybe were a little bit outside of the scope of their role.
yes.
And it worked, and sometimes you do have to escalate. That's just part of being in a large, complex organization.
Mhm.
But that was, yeah, learn a few lessons about how to engage with people.
Are you able to share a few of that?
Yeah, I had a bit of a tendency when I thought that I was right to state, and not rudely or not, but it would be, oh, I think we should do this. Let's go down that path. Um, Nowadays, I'm a bit more, have we considered this option?
Ah, yeah.
What are the pros and cons for that option?
Hmm.
It's a very different way of engagement, and I find it is softer, but can get a better outcome.
How so? Can you walk me through those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in one way, it's more consultative,
Exactly.
and it means that no one's right all the time. It invites a bit of challenge, and it results in the idea being improved upon. And also, it's a nicer way of leading change rather than directing change.
Wow. Leading rather than directing change. Is directing change then? This is me thinking out loud.
Yep.
Is directing change then, even if it lead to a good outcome, not sustainable long term? Will you say?
I've not seen it be sustainable. It doesn't mean it isn't.
Mm.
What I tend to find is that consultative approach results in a better solution,
Yeah,
not always a faster solution.
true.
And sometimes you do need to be right. This is the problem. Here's a solution. It might be 80% of the solution, but it's going to get us there 10% quicker, and that's the priority today. So let's do that, and then we'll iterate when we can.
Hmm. Wow. So many things going in my mind based on that point there, Kat. Um, it's hard to maintain a culture, especially in the cyberspace. And for me, in as much as you've seen where transformation were just done so badly, um, oftentimes they are the ones where also you get to learn the most.
Yes.
Yeah, from. Why does it have to lead to things going bad before we can learn and actually make a change? Why isn't the default building something of value? Why is that a difficult thing for us to do?
I think it is, but I think we operate within constraints that often lead to that 80%. Even if you do take the consultative approach, it's often we've solved a problem, that problem solved, let's go to the next fire that we have to put out.
Hmm.
Well, one of the things which I really enjoy doing is every time a problem's solved,
Okay.
do a bit of lessons learned. And
See, that is good one.
yeah,
Okay. How do you do that?
they're typically workshops.
Okay.
And it's a bit of a continuous improvement methodology stolen from ISO, shall we say. But it's workshop, go through the different aspects of the work that we did, what went well, what did go well, how was our communication, how was our change leadership, uh, how did we go with timelines and managing budget, all of these aspects that are the metrics that we measure
Right. Yeah.
success by.
Hmm.
And then this went well, fantastic. Let's build that into the process for next time.
Nice.
This didn't go well, let's do a bit of a problem solve on this and then build that problem solve into the process for next time.
Hmm.
And I am a bit of a fan of the idea of simplicity. So if you can have a simple solution, do so. If it needs a complex solution, by all means, that's fine.
Right.
But let's reduce the margin for error and the manual effort and the administrative and cognitive load.
Wow, I love that.
Doesn't always work in practice,
Yeah.
but we certainly try.
Hmm.
But I do really like that concept of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Because let's take our process for ISO audits, for example.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Let's do that.
initially, it was you've got a report template, and as you're going through the audit, you're populating that report template, and at the end, we'll refine and make it all look pretty.
Mhm.
Now I've got a great matrix that has evidence that is typically provided to support alignment to a clause.
Right.
Stakeholder typically is questions that you would often ask that stakeholder to verify they understand the control and have it implemented and in place. Got a really standard method of measuring how well supported a control is. So you write um, your observations, your findings, your recommendations within this matrix.
Right.
That is used, that's the piece that we refine.
Hmm.
And then it all goes into the report. And I always remember every time I was in a leadership position and an audit was conducted,
Yeah.
you get your audit report, you go straight to the findings and the recommendations, and you'd rip it out and put it in Excel. And then you'd use your Excel spreadsheet for tracking and dates and everything in there. That report often wouldn't necessarily be read again. And so what we do at the end of the audit is go, here's your audit and here's your spreadsheet. So you
Right.
don't have to go and do it manually. Um,
Oh, so you preempt that, huh?
yeah.
And you give it. So, for example, right now in your consulting activities, you preempt her by actually even providing that. Yes, the report, but also hasn't. That is fascinating.
Yeah, and list the evidence that was used
Yeah.
so that the next time they're audited, they know what evidence to provide. Or they can say, actually, I don't quite agree with this finding. You missed this piece of evidence. And you bring that real transparency to the process.
Did you learn that from you receiving bad audits? As in when you were the CISO and you
Yeah.
brought in the consultants and the report isn't how you expected it to look like. Did you learn out of that, or is something that how you think should be done?
I think I don't believe it's something I developed because of receiving poor audits.
Okay.
Um, I think it is that um, customer centric design. There's a better phrase for it. There's an actual phrase for it, but when you put yourself in the shoes of, well, what would improve this for me? What would make a demonstrable difference on my outcomes? What makes my life just 10% easier? And it's a really simple thing for us to provide that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It brings real accountability to the process. It improves the outcomes. It doesn't take much longer.
Yeah.
And I would argue it leads to a better outcome.
And to me, the reason why I asked that question, it shows care.
Okay, yeah.
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 It really shows care because you are thinking beyond just this is just an audit tick box thing.
Yeah.
And so that is so cool to hear, but also to see how you approach these things. So you went from federal government, and then what was the tick for you that says, it's time for the next challenge?
Oh, I did a few things in federal government. So I spent a few years in cyber, and
Right.
then I went and worked in the internal fraud team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very cool. It was called the pressure testing team. It was basically conformance assessments, and then see how you could commit fraud and get away with it, and then write that up and pen testing for fraud.
Right. Wow.
And so I spent a few years leading that team, and we built a fairly strong process. We were able to have input into federal budgets. I wouldn't do the maths, but I know that we managed to have an influence over several $100 million of fraud from one of the reports and some recommendations. Um, and then towards the end of that role, I got quite ill
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
had to take a step back from my career for a couple of years while I sorted out medications and
What happened?
um, idiopathic non-specific liver disease, which basically means we don't know what or why. So it's very well managed now. I just take medications and
Right.
everything, but it was pretty dire for a while there.
For like how many years?
2.
Wow, that is a long time.
Yeah, I was pretty yellow. Um,
Man.
but obviously I'm
Yeah.
quite pale now. There's not
Yeah.
yellow to me. But that was that was a really defining moment of my life.
Can you walk me to that moment? What really happened?
I had a few days where I just was feeling a bit unwell in the afternoon, and,
Okay.
and uh, over time I got more and more unwell in the afternoon, and we'd go home from work, and the next day I'd wake up and be fine, and by the afternoon, and of course you go to the doctor and get some blood tests run, and there's some abnormalities here, and then you go down the diagnostic pathway, and I was getting less and less well, um, had to basically take time off work. Work from home is what I was able to negotiate, which is really great. It wasn't common back then.
Yeah.
Um, all of the diagnostic tests were basically saying there's something wrong, but we can't tell what. Um, and my sister was doing her PhD at the time, and she was kind enough. Can't believe I'm telling this about a cybersecurity story, but she gave me her credentials. And I logged into the medical journals that she had access to and found a few instances where there were meta studies of people who had symptomology similar to mine. And um, there was some recommendations for medications, and they demonstrated efficacy of 65% above placebo. And I went, that's pretty good. My GP showed him what I'd done. He read it and went, look, let's try it, wrote the script, and life's been pretty good ever since.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And they still couldn't tell you what exactly?
No, no. We've given up trying to diagnose it at this point because it's managed and controlled.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe with AI, we might be able to.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So I live in hope, um, but I mention that because that experience is one of the things that really drives me to work with healthcare organizations.
Wow.
And we have been a supporter of research and innovation in that space. Um, so that meant, yeah, a couple of years of not being very effective. Well, effective, but not exemplary.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because you had to deal with this. And I imagine also such kind of setbacks will have also its mental toll on on someone. Yeah.
Yeah, that took a bit to recover from. So you had the physical recovery, and then you have the, if I do this, yeah, I'll be okay. If I eat this, will I be okay?
Exactly.
Just and that's still, every so often you eat the wrong thing, and
Yeah.
might try that again. But it's easily resolved. So yeah, for a couple of years of physical and mental recovery.
Yeah.
There's a time there where every day I ate the same thing. I'd have a banana in the morning. I'd have um, like a cup of rice for lunch, and then I'd have steak and potatoes for dinner. And after 9 months of that diet, never again.
Yeah. You just don't want to see. Oh my God.
But I'm really good at cooking steak now.
Exactly. You should be right now. Oh my God. You see? Wow.
Yeah, so that was my late 20s, early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then still maintain my career.
Yeah.
But after the time in fraud and after all of that, I thought, time to go back to cyber. And so it was quite fortuitous. My phone rang a couple of days after I made that decision.
Interesting.
My very first boss said, "Hey, I've got a role. Is there a chance you're looking? Tell me a bit about your role." And so I've got 3 departments that I need to merge into one.
Oh wow. Oh my God.
I need someone to do the cyber activities, or the cyber GRC activities. And okay, no worries, I accept this challenge. And so went and joined the Department of Agriculture, Water and Environment, which has been since mogged again. So
Yeah. Wow.
um,
And this was in New South Wales, or you've?
I'd moved up here.
Okay, by then, but okay. Wow.
And so yeah, worked on the GRC team and helped to bring all of those elements together.
Yeah, yeah, wow.
And they had a SOC which was outsourced, and they wanted to bring it in-house. So I started as a pre-exchange. It was very cool though. It was very outside of the skill set that I had at the time.
Yeah.
But I got the ball rolling on that. I'm not gonna claim that all of it was me. I wasn't around to finish the process. But at about that time I got a phone call. BCE are looking, you're in the area. Would you be interested in an interview? And I thought, well, yeah, okay. It's probably time. I can either stay and finish this big initiative and move it into operational space, or I can let someone else build it so that they can operate it.
Yeah. Wow. So, Kat, walk me through your decision making process here. Yeah. Is you seems like someone whom has it can be deeply reflective, and once that is done, you are clear.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. I am definitely someone who sits down and does the pros and cons, um, and then commits to action.
Hmm.
For your amusement, actually, I've one of my AI that I've built is
Okay, tell me.
has a decision making framework. And so I've built, um, I think it's 12 different decision making frameworks into this AI, and I give it decisions that need to be made. And it chooses 5 of those decision making frameworks, walks through it, tells you the results of each of them, and then comes up with a combined assessment at the end. And you never rely on it. You can't outsource decision making to a machine.
Yeah,
But sometimes it can be really validating.
exactly. It's wow, man. Fascinating.
It keeps me entertained.
Yeah, definitely I can't. So what are those top frameworks?
Oh, there's several of them. One of them is a weighted matrix.
Okay.
So it will go, what are the key factors that need to be considered when making this decision? That might be feasibility, cost, timeline to implement, opportunities, these sorts of
Yeah.
things. Weights each of them, gives things that breaking. That's one example.
Right.
Yeah, there's a whole series of them. And I find it quite fascinating.
It is, man, because I mean, as a leader, one of the core things you need to be really, really good at is your ability to read the room, your ability to tap into people's feelings, how they're taking, and also understand the whole landscape. But also, when the time comes to actually make a decision, you better be ready to make that decision and then to own it.
Absolutely, yes. And empower the people who work with you to make decisions. So you give them
Aim it.
their own decision making framework. So you tell them these are the factors that are important to me. When you're making decisions, consider these factors. If it goes outside of these bounds, that's when you consult. If it sits within these bounds, I trust you.
Man, you just opened my mind to something. Let that sink in him for a moment.
Just take your time.
You gave him framework and how you walk me through that communication side thing. As in, let's say you start with your team.
Yeah.
How would the communication style then look
One
like?
on one. I don't do it as because some people have better judgment than others.
True.
And so there's people who have really sound judgment. You can give them a bit more scope.
Hmm.
Um, but the, the way I used to do it,
You okay?
spreadsheet nerd,
Okay.
is I used to go, these are the factors that are important. This is the weighting of those factors. When you're considering a decision, which is hard to reverse, I want you to use this framework. And does it impact the budget? Does it impact our external communications? Does it impact the reputation of our team?
Right.
Does it impact the reputation of you as an individual? Because that matters. Um, and then if the answer to all of those is no, you've got decision making license. If the answer is yes to one of those things, well, how significant is the impact of that decision if it's below this tolerance threshold?
Right.
That's a very structured way of doing it.
Mm.
And when I first started doing it, I needed that structure to give
Exactly.
confidence that it would work.
So you can build that muscle memory, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And over time, it's just become more about communicating my priorities and setting those boundaries.
Right.
As people demonstrate a capability, you build more confidence in them and you give them more decision making license.
So don't put people in a position where when you know they are not ready, they provide them with the opportunity, but also train them well. Basically, that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
from that.
And it iterates, build confidence, and they grow and they build confidence in themselves, get more comfortable that they're doing the right thing. And eventually you end up with only really having to talk about the big issues and having really strong trust in each other.
Wow.
What I will add is if someone makes the wrong call, you've still got to support that person.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whereas we've seen situation where instead of that support, that person is either thrown out of the bus. Yeah.
Step in front of the bus.
Yeah.
It's not fun, it's not pleasant, but it does force you as a leader to take accountability, which is part of your role.
Yeah.
But it also forces you to change the way that you lead to try and mitigate that from happening again.
Wow. Where did you learn that from?
I have no idea.
Wow, mate.
Some things I make up, other things it's like, oh, I read it in a
Yeah.
business review, or someone else mentioned it, or it was a TED talk.
See, that's why reflection is very important. We shouldn't be, especially now that there are plenty of things that could distract us.
Yep.
So the ability for us to just always be on the move or be on autopilot is highly, highly uh, susceptible. How do we really slow down sometimes just so that reflection can happen? And I think you are really good at that. Yeah. That's one of the things I observe so far from our conversation. And I have that hunch after a lot of interaction I have with you. But having going deeper today, I think is giving me that pattern. Um, that which is why I got curious about your decision making towards that, saying, okay, even though I has an opportunity to build and operationalize this SOC, there is something that is time for me to take on, which is to be a size. Yeah.
There was a bit of what's the right what's the right thing for me to do for the person who comes into this role after me. That was part of it as well.
Wow.
Because
Please tell me about that.
well, had I built the function,
Yes.
it would have been built in what I thought was best. And I had no intention of staying in the operational role. So rather than build what I think is best and then and build it with the knowledge that I wasn't going to stay, give that opportunity to someone else to build what they wanted, and then they could operate it. So yes, fitted that factored in as well.
That is so wonderful. Yeah, honestly, that is so wonderful because I mean, after you saying that, because that's the angle I haven't even considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is actually so true because then if you're not gonna stay anyway, but then you build it based on how you see it possible. Um, in that regard, will you consider that a win, even though if it's done?
Well, yeah. If you
Yeah.
if you do the best that you can
Yeah.
with the tools that you've got and the knowledge that you've got, you've won. Um, maybe even if the outcome isn't optimal.
If
The other thing I'd add is don't compromise your integrity because you can never get that back.
yeah.
But you you can never do things perfectly. Um, you just have to do them as best as you can
Yeah.
using defensible decisions,
Hmm.
and consult with others so that it's not just purely based on your own opinion
Yeah.
and decisions, and
So true.
yeah, bring in the experts. But I like to think, had I built it, whomever brought it on, whomever stepped into the operation role would have been happy.
Yeah.
Interestingly, actually, I had a similar opportunity a couple of years later with BCE. So I wasn't building the SOC internally, but I was able to sit down and go, what do I want our SOC to look like? And turn that into requirements for procurement
Aha, there you
through
go.
a different lens.
Yes,
But it's still, I created the function.
absolutely. So the moment you made that shift, it's time to take that role, become a CISO.
It was terrifying.
Yeah. Please
So
tell me.
I left the safety of the public service
Yeah.
where I'd been for 12 years. I had long
Oh,
service.
you've done 12 years, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had long service leave. I'd built all my sick leave back up. Like yeah, it was scary for me to move on. Um,
I have to stop you there, Kat.
yeah, yeah.
That was so brave. Because let me be honest with you, because I have seen many stay just because of what they've all those they've accumulated the years, they just don't want to give up. They see it as a sunk cost that they really don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the time, it's different post 2020, right? But
Yeah, I feel that too.
at the time, opportunities up here were limited. And so it was, okay, well, do I stay here? Do I experience the safety and the comfort of the career that I've built and the rapport and relationships that I have across government?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I take this very, very scary leap into the unknown, have no certainty about the outcome?
Yeah.
Um, and it took me many pro and con list to make that decision.
Yes, especially for the kind of person that you are, yeah.
Yeah.
With the frameworks and yeah, wow.
Cold bum. What should I
Eh,
do?
Okay.
I don't know, Dove.
Yeah.
Write a pro and con list, she says. I've already
Yeah.
done that. Thanks.
Okay. Wow. Oh my God. So who were the people you consulted at the time? Please.
Oh,
I'm
the
curious.
time.
Yeah.
It'd be the parents, of course.
Yeah.
My sister, of course, and then any and every. I'm very consultative in my personal life when it's things that really impact me. So yeah, it would have been the family, would have been all of my friends,
Yeah.
and y- yeah,
I'm the same. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm
yeah.
through that.
But because it's like I'd never worked outside, well, aside from my checkout chick role, yeah, I hadn't experienced life outside of the public service. It's actually so I wanted to know what's your experience. And one of my mates said to me, only X% of the population work for the public service and they're all doing fine.
That's true.
Do you think that you wait? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Actually, that was a really good perspective. Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But funnily, when I started with BCE, for me, it was seamless. It was the first day that, yeah,
Okay.
it was,
So,
the culture was so aligned.
yeah.
And I think part of that was we had a fairly robust interviewing process.
Okay, to walk me through that.
Well, it was several interviews.
Yes.
But they didn't necessarily know exactly what skills they wanted,
Mm.
but they knew what attributes they wanted. They knew what success looked like.
Wow, so that's so good.
So they were able to tell me, this is what success looks like. Tell us how you do that. And so I did. But when I was interviews are two-way.
True.
And so when I was talking to them, my questions were very much around your culture. How do you feel about innovation? How do you feel about people who make errors? Because if you're innovating, you're making errors. And what's your tolerance for certain behaviors in the workplace?
Hmm. Hmm.
What do you consider to be acceptable and unacceptable behavior? That was a few years ago now, so I
Yeah.
can't remember the exact
Exactly. Yes,
questions.
yeah.
But that one about how do you respond to errors or failure, I think that's really, really important because it tells you it tells you how you'll be supported if you do make an error. And you can't be perfect all the time. So you want to know that it's safe to fail. And you want to know that the environment you're walking into has, they use the phrase now, psychological safety.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, you never want to be that person who's made a typo on something that went public and then you can't sleep that night because you're concerned about the retribution you'll face tomorrow. Yeah, the approach that I tend to take to errors is, okay, let's step through this. What happened? What evidence do we have to support what happened?
Yeah.
Can we defend the decisions that were made?
Hmm.
And, and is there something in the process that needs to change?
Wow. Do you know what I'm realizing, Kat, as as we are discussing this? This is what a 5, 6 ep- episode that we have got in this podcast. I'm realizing that each conversation that I'm having with the guest, they've found a way to touch on things that personally I'm either grappling with
Okay.
or I wish more of that messaging is out,
Mhm.
or I have been in the situation before and I had no idea what I was doing. Either I either I have survived it or not. That is not the case. But I had no idea what I was doing, and I wish I had those tools. Yeah, or those mental models. So like for example, the kind of questions that you come into the interview with, and you are well prepared. Those ones, like asking about innovations, asking about failure. I wish I had that.
You do now.
Exactly. I wish I had that because it reminds me of a role that I took that I felt so burnt
Mm.
that I would have seen the writing in the wall through the answers I was being given. Had it been had the mental model to ask that question. So what a gift that you're able to say this. Honestly, what a gift. And you made that decision because I'm very sure after by the end of that interview, I'm very sure you felt I think there's something here.
Went on to
Yeah.
prolix.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so much of I'm very relationship driven.
You are.
So much of working with someone or an organization is about the quality of the relationship.
Couldn't agree. Yeah.
Because often the problems are not completely unique. And they might have a different flavor to them, or a slightly different regulatory framework, or some technical complexity. But it's often, will this person and I work well together?
Hmm.
Because if we won't work well together, neither of us will be happy with the outcome. If we can work well together, then we'll keep working well together until we get an outcome that we're both happy with.
Huh. Um, I'm also thinking a lot recently that the cyber industry have had a good run for the past, I would say, 30 years, where, they rely on a lot on the technical side of things. What the cyber industry will need for the next reinvention period, which I believe now we're in the reinvention phase, is more true artists in their core. And I will define what I mean by artists. People whom are thinking outside the box and are always constantly looking at things like the relationship side of things. Like, how do I find a way to work and make things work together? And then also, another shift would be wisdom. We need more wise leaders.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Relationship building,
Yeah.
leadership will never be out of fashion.
Hmm.
That there will always be skills that are required. I think we are entering a period of time now where knowledge is becoming devalued, and is one of the reasons why I've got a renewed passion in research.
Okay.
But it becomes, how does a leader support an organization to make decisions when knowledge has no value? And you've got the access to and tutorials and knowledge that's available to you. And it becomes about having those frameworks and those ability to interpret all of the knowledge in the world that's available to you at basically no cost to steer the ship in the right direction and keep the people on the ship.
Yeah. What? Oh, man. Do you know what I'm thinking?
Mm.
You are so right. Right on the money there. Another thing I keep thinking is then 10 years from now, I'm very sure robots are going to be fully rolled out.
Yeah.
I believe 10 years from now, robots are going to fully roll out. All this manual work that happens in the factory, the robots will be doing that. I think that is good because then, in a way, all this manual labor that where we have to break our back, um, thankfully, humans don't have to do that. And hopefully, my hope is we are going to create a much more dignified roles for more people, individuals to have opportunities. But then we have to be consciously rolling those in phase while and thinking through that.
And this is one of the reasons that I like working in the not-for-profit space. And firstly, the cultures are well aligned,
Yeah.
and the values are well aligned. But um, those organizations are the ones which I think have typically less funding and therefore typically less access to the modern technologies. And therefore, you need to work with them to build them a bit more safety so that their investment in the innovation is more likely to be successful.
So true. And there's no money in there. In the cut, there's no money. There's money in cybersecurity. There's no money in delivering cyber for non-for-profit. Why are you doing it?
Because of that social benefit. So Cat's
That-
Fantasyland.
Yeah.
So Cat's Fantasyland is I work with health organizations who are able to build the systems and fund research that result in some form of innovation that improves the lives of people. I can't do that. I don't have that skill or capability.
Yes.
But they do. So how do I have impact that allows them to have impact, and then that impact spreads?
Amazing. What was the defining moment that gave you that shift and say, okay, I've achieved the CISO, I've lived the CISO role and I've achieved what I need to achieve and I need to make my next shift?
It wasn't a moment.
Yeah.
More a realization. So
How did that come about? Yeah.
I was coming up to the end of our transformation program. And again, I'm not an operational leader, I'm a transformational leader.
Yeah.
And so again, I didn't want to be in that operational space.
Yeah.
And so there's some really honest conversations between me and the leadership. And we decided at the end of 2 years, or yeah, 2 years, when that transformation program was very close to the end, that's when I'd depart. And so I went to market, and there was a bit of a process of bringing in the successful candidate, and then I'm staying until the end of the year. But that was because of the strength of my relationship with my leader, and a real that he bears credit for that we were able to have those honest conversations and put them in a position where they could bring in the right person and have me there as backup for a little while during that transition period.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that was, but I've made the decision that I wasn't going to stay around for the operational period.
Yes.
I hadn't decided what I was going to do next yet. Yeah, really stressful for me.
Exactly.
But, and so that led to this whole, well, what is next? What's something I've always wanted to do? And I had always wanted to do consultancy
Okay.
because I viewed that as that's a role where I can work across organizations
Okay.
and help them to build. But I couldn't quite find that consultancy that had complete values alignment. And
You know what I was gonna forgive you for that. You know what I was gonna say? I was gonna say, well, Kat, you wanna do consulting? Why didn't you take any of the big four?
sort of it.
Yes, yeah. Why did you? But do you know something? That would be so weird. It's just not you.
It's not me. No.
Nah.
It's not me.
That would be so weird to see you in it. No, 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 no.
I'm sure I'd adjust
I
and
think
I'd adopt their ways of.
no. Even if you adjust, I kid you not. Even if you adjust, I think I would. People like me, I will draw you aside someday and say, "What are you doing, mate? I don't think this is what you will." Yeah. It's not that I have anything bad about the big four,
There's a lot,
but
but they do a lot.
yes, but I want people to live in their own element.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
It could
Because
have been, what's the expression? Round peg, square hole.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it would have I've made it like you adapt to your environment. But it would have been an adjustment period, and it wasn't what I saw for myself.
Because also, do you know another thing that anger after all this journey and you sacrificing because the massive sacrifice that sunk cost of 12 years and so on. The fact that you're able to do that and let go of that, you don't wanna bring yourself back to a small pigeonhole again.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, the next time that you make the decision, it's easier to make it.
really, huh?
Because you've learnt lessons from the first time around.
And you've started building that
A bit of resilience.
yeah, interesting. What would you tell somebody who is now, right now, in that moment where they have to make some similar decision? What would you tell them?
There's some decisions which are really easy to walk back from, and you should just make those decisions.
Cool.
As it was the wrong one, you can come back to them, and life's good. Where it's the second type, they call it type B decision, it's not easily reversed or even irreversible. The don't make decisions when you are under pressure if you can avoid it, because the biomechanical ways that our body work, which I don't know anything about, um, they do lead to diminished decision making capability.
Oh, under pressure.
Okay. Um, and so give yourself time to make the decision. Consider what's important to you.
Yeah.
And some of those factors will be important to you in the short term, some will be important in the long term. So prioritize those things which are important in the long term and then use that to make that decision.
Hmm. Yeah. But ultimately, you have to make that decision. And then for the type B is the one you can walk back.
Type A is the walk back.
Type B is the walk back. Okay, yeah. Okay. Sorry. And the type B.
Which interestingly ties back to the decision making framework that you give your teams. If it's a type A decision, it's easy to walk back with, give them much more leeway.
Hmm. Yeah.
It'll teach them the process for the type B decisions.
Yes, that interesting. Yeah. Hmm. And then you went deeply reflective as you always do. And then how did Flame came to being? When was it the moment you said, okay, I didn't find my kind of consulting that I want to be part of. Okay, I'm
I
gonna
want to just do it myself.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, a long, drawn out decision making process. But I I realized that the only thing stopping me from being able to achieve this would be my ability to get outside my comfort zone.
Well,
Um, and so every time that I have taken steps to move outside my comfort zone, even if it hasn't always gone to plan, I've never regretted it.
hmm.
So the likelihood of me regretting setting up my own organization to specifically work with not for profits,
Yes.
what was the worst that could happen?
Sad.
Financial impact, bit of embarrassment maybe. Uh, you just set your tolerance levels for each of those things and then go forth.
I have a question, Kat. You said, what do I have to lose? And you mentioned financial impact and embarrassment. Um, I want to ask also the stage where you are in your life. Does that also play a part in terms of, for example, in your 20s, maybe you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. But now, I mean, you are in your late 30s, early 40s, I'm not sure. And I don't, I would say late 30s. And so maybe you are in your late 30s. Yeah. So, I mean, does that play a part? Because,
Yeah, it would.
yeah.
Absolutely would, because the sum of your own experiences.
Hmm.
And so, let's say 10 years ago, well, if I had the life I had 10 years ago, I would have been in the throes of illness. So definitely wasn't happening then. But I had less experience. Yeah. And because I had less experience, I had less resilience and less confidence. Yeah. And the only way to build resilience and confidence is by overcoming adversity, having that data that, oh, yeah, I overcame this. This too shall pass. One other thing is hedonic adaptation. That this is the concept that you've got this baseline level of happiness, and irrespective of what's happening in your life, you will return to that baseline level of happiness over time. So you can go out, do something. It can be really painful at the time, but you will return to that baseline.
Baseline, yeah. Interesting. So to walk me through the flame tree moment, how you decided, okay, I'm going on, and what was the moment when you also announced, and there's no place to hide. You have to keep it going. Yeah.
Something that I did announce it.
Yeah.
I think it was just started telling people, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Yeah, you should do it. If you're going to do it, you need to develop these skills. Or if you're going to do it, consider talking to this person who's done it before. And I remember when I was about to take the leap, and it was kind of this decision of, right, well, do I enter the job market or do I take this leap? And again, as a type A decision, you can change your mind at either point.
Right.
But I thought, I don't have a lot of clarity around what starting a business really takes. And so I reached out to a whole series of people on LinkedIn, and I said, you've been in business for 5 or 6 years. You've reached about the size that I might like to reach. Can we talk?
Yeah.
And so I spoke to them all about what were the first 5 years like for you.
Wow.
How are you feeling about the next 5? How do you overcome challenges? What do you spend your day doing? What kept you going? There's a really common story, which was it is a great deal of work in the beginning. All of the decisions you make in the early years are really important.
Yeah.
As time goes by, you've got a bit of redundancy, and some of your processes are embedded and working well, and the impact of your decision making lessens slightly.
Yeah.
And it's not really until you hit year 5 when you've got a team that you trust and processes that are tested that your decision making really becomes about putting out big fires rather than the operational decisions that need to be made.
See, isn't that interesting? You are clear that you are a transformational leader, and you are also clear that you build stuff to certain level. Once become operational, it's time for the next person to take it, move it. Now you are in your own company where you have to build it, you have to make it, take it to whatever direction you want to see it grow. But then there's the operational side of things that has to happen.
Yes.
How do you reconcile with this contradiction but also tension?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that it's temporary,
Yeah.
but I also know, well, if I don't do it, no one will.
True.
And because it's still the first 2-3
Yeah.
years, all of it is transformation.
It's still, yes, that's true.
And I don't think I could be a strong leader of the operations if I hadn't done them myself. So I don't ask people who work with or for me to do anything that I wouldn't be prepared to do myself.
I like that. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Yeah. Plus also I think that also has a lot of utility, right? Because you've walked your talk, and you've also understand what it means. If they take on those responsibility, you already understand also what it means to be in that shoe. That also helps, I would think, in also the collaboration side of things.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yes. And it helps you to go, what does this person need for success?
Hmm.
And then you can better equip them.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. You made a conscious decision though, which for me that was very, very. I haven't seen it in any cyber consulting firm where you made a conscious decision to choose your customer who you really, really want to support, help, and do whatever you can to help to really build a capability with Flame Tree.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
It partially is that values alignment. Like
Okay.
people who work for non-for-profits typically are fairly values driven.
Yes.
And there's obviously exceptions to that.
Mhm.
But it also gives me drive when I know what I'm doing has real social impact. Because again, typically there's exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, securing an organization which doesn't necessarily have social impact, if it has different drivers behind it,
Yes.
is less of a driver for me.
Hmm. Yeah, which makes sense that even when you look at your career, you spend more time in the public sector. Yeah, that is yeah, constant theme there, service. That's so good. Um, Perplexity said something about you with regards to GRC.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm gonna take on that one too as well. It says, um, CAT frames GRC as more than controls and policy, but connects governance, risk, compliance, and resilience to business goals, stakeholder communication, incident readiness, third-party risk, and practical decision making under pressure.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so my view is if an organization has the guardrails and the controls and the understanding of their risk environment,
Yeah.
then that allows the people that work within them to have a bit of creative license and agency to bring themselves to their role and contribute their own intellectual capital.
Right.
And
Right.
it's that culmination of intellectual capital which results in that innovation and that advancement and those social improvements. In terms of the governance piece, um, I'm not confident that as an industry we do that well. And an example of that is as an individual, my risk appetite this month is different to what it was 2 months ago because of certain geopolitical events.
Is actually true.
Organizations will be similar. Their risk appetite will fluctuate based on what the markets are doing or what inflation looks like. We tend to have a relatively static understanding of that. And so really embedding yourself in an organization's priorities, their appetite for change, their priorities, what influences their decision making,
Yeah.
helps you to create that digital safety for them to achieve their business or core organization goals, values, and mission.
Interesting. That is so true. Yeah, I agree. Uh, in fact, when I wrote this down, I also um put a question mark saying has approach to cyber or how I view cyber, and I wanna touch it with you and see what your take is. You particularly the line that triggered that for me was the governance, risk, compliance, and resilience bit.
Yep.
For me, I don't know, the way I'm seeing cybersecurity, Kat, and I really want to hear your point here is because I get annoyed with the way how we view things like the Essential 8 and IS 18.
Yep.
And it became more of a tick box kind of thing from my own observation, much more so to the extent that sometimes uh, something that already have been flagged 3 years later is still there. nothing shifted, nothing moved. However, after seeing all of that observation, I thought to myself, I think the best possible outcome an organization could make or could do to itself is to really spend more time doing more self-reflection on knowing itself deeply, and then focusing on and pretty much pretend as though they've been breached and work their way backward that way, and they focus on how can they keep building their ability to stay resilient no matter the cost, and to keep the fire going, to keep the operational things happening, and the most critical business operation working irrespective of whatever happens. And if they're able to build and prepared measures and build a tight muscle memory in that regard, then their chances of survival and staying at the forefront of pace of change, then it's going to be high. So I'm prioritizing resilience over everything.
I have so much to talk about there.
Please, please. Yeah, I really want to take your take, but
Yeah.
I haven't yet find opportunity to really discuss that deeper. And I thought to bring that to you to you today. Yeah.
Yeah. I I'll try to keep it a little bit brief.
Please, please, yeah.
To two things.
Yeah.
One is we tend to focus on cyber resilience, which makes sense. That's our industry.
Yeah.
But organizations need to build resilience to multiple threats. And so we use COVID as an example because that was a fairly global event.
Yes.
Organizations really had to understand their priorities, and it forced them to adjust their risk appetite to match their true priorities. And we use remote work as a really good example of that because most organizations were like, not come to the office. We don't offer remote work.
Yeah.
Exceptions, of course, but and then suddenly COVID happened and it's there's work from home mandates. Yes. And organizations chose to adjust their risk to align to those mandates. Some of them, which were still essential businesses, also chose to expand their risk appetites to allow their staff to work from home, even though they didn't fall under those mandates. What I find interesting is a lot of those organizations never brought that risk appetite back to what it was pre-COVID. They realized, we can put controls in place that will support this change of risk posture.
Yeah.
The other, and I think that is a really good lesson for us to apply to our industry, because it wasn't just the remote working. There were certain elements of the business that were kind of wound back a little bit and reprioritized. We'll use government, for example, because that's where I was at the time. There were certain functions in government that were wound back to redivert people to income support assessments, because that was the government's priority.
I see.
So if you look at that, that was a live disaster scenario. What learnings can we take from that to continuously improve and understand the organization's true priorities and appetite?
Right.
The other thing you touched on there was do a true resilience exercise.
Yes.
And leverage that to determine priorities. And this is something that I do with organizations.
Okay.
Is you do a tabletop assessment, and along throughout that process, you ask a few pointed questions and get a few scenarios that really test, okay, what is our actual genuine appetite for this?
Right.
And then you reverse engineer that back into your risk appetite statement, and hopefully that informs everything from there. There were some other things I thought of, but they've since escaped my
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because I thought, your budgets are limited. We struggle a lot with having enough skilled people to uh, help support that. Even if you are able to also have the skilled people, then the budgets are not there in order to actually bring people in. And then there's also the overwhelm that operational team gets.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you come into this vicious cycle, either just chasing the next uh Tuesday patch that you need to do, the vulnerability management that's never in the cycle, all of that. Then it becomes then devoid out of true meaning, or also the true goal of what you're trying to achieve. And I noticed something also. I think you also are part of the small group who are trying to promote positive approach to cyber as opposed to fear.
Yes.
Yes, for me, this my next thing. I almost want to have to build a community around that. Really, around just positive approach to cyber. What? Because as one of my um, friend, and I consider him a mentor, would say, Gary Burns, he will say, good security is just good for business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So focus on truly understanding the true value the businesses and true outcome business is trying to achieve, and just embed the right proper amount of security that is required,
Yeah.
and then focus on the positive approach. Yeah, don't be there killing yourself trying to find, you know, a number of scenarios thinking about the ways the threat will attack. Please, I am sure you have a lot to say there.
Yes. I mean, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it sells. Yeah, it's well tested. It's been media used to get you to tune into the nightly news. It's not false either.
Hmm.
I mean, we look at the cost of breaches, we look at the volume of them. It's real.
Resilient.
Um, but what I tend to focus on is the enablement, and the value that comes with enablement, the innovation and impact that comes with enablement, because that's what I'd rather spend my time thinking about.
Yeah.
It's a happier place to be than hold the door. Um, it's yeah. I mean, we do have to be defensive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no denying the adversarial landscape. But equally, yeah, let's build something together and achieve some really strong outcomes and improve the world using that.
And you know something that is contagious too. I mean, bringing a positive energy and approaching cyber positively. Yeah, you will find that people want to listen to you more. Yeah,
Good.
and they tend to be more expansive.
Yes.
And that's why that's what, again, that's another thing. Um, that's also what I meant when I say true cyber game changers. I believe deep inside them are wise people, but also artists. They think beyond the constraint. They are looking at things in various dimensions deeply.
But there's a bit of art involved in problem solving.
Exactly.
So yeah, at the crux of it, that's what we do. We solve problems.
I want to go into an article you put out.
Oh yes.
So if you notice, there's a deliberate journey you and I that we went. How your your story arc went, because that article connects to that story arc
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
You put out an article you in collaboration with Ivano,
Yes.
and the article is titled "Why We Rarely Talk About Living a Cyber Career: A Two-Arc Story."
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the most important article I read this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm not saying that to patronize you, really, genuinely, because two things: the people who are just starting are still questioning whether they are making the right choice, especially with AI rising. That's one. And then those middle tier practitioners, some of them are in the time, are in the process or in a situation in their lives where they feel invisible. They couldn't make that move to climb the management or executive role, and at the same time, they're stagnated at that practitioner level. To some extent, I will count myself in that category as well, to some extent. Um, and then there are those who have lived the CISO role, and now they're asking, now what?
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Ivano and I, we were discussing how cyber is a landing role. Um, there's so much desire to enter the industry and have impact. And it does have a certain image around the industry.
Yeah.
Um, and often image doesn't match reality. You find that you're solving those same problems over and over again, and that can be tedious. It's one of the reasons why I tend to work with those mission driven organizations, because you can see, yes, I'm solving the same problem perhaps, but I'm improving this mission.
Yes.
Um, and so there is fatigue with that. Um, I could not tell you, but it's a really high volume
Yeah.
of conversations that I have with leaders, and they are really feeling burnt out.
Wow.
And the choice for them seems to be keep going, burn out, or leave. And if I leave, I've got no idea what I'd do. I'd just take 6 months of leave and then repeat the cycle with another CISO role. And very often that is what happens. Um, and so I was approaching this with that lens. Um, but equally, there's always times throughout anyone's career, and I'm not immune to this, where you sit back, you go, right, I've been doing this for 10 years. Shall I do something different now? And so we wanted to really give people a little bit of hope around that, show them, well, if you're in this type of role, these are the skills you have. You might not see it in yourself,
Right.
because often people can't see
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but you've probably got these skills, and here's where it can be applicable. And it doesn't have to be in technology, but you can make, you can make you can build yourself a strategy to deliberately move to this area based off the skills and expertise that you've got.
Interesting. Yeah, that is so true. So true, because you are not meant to be defined by a role.
No, no, you're not. And roles change very easily. It doesn't take much. You show up to work one day, there's been decisions made about job cuts, and suddenly that role is gone, and you've got to find something new for yourself.
And now we're entering a world where we all are heading in the direction of we don't know what roles are going to be.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, it very much is that knowledge will be accessible to all. So how do you build yourself up so that you are an individual who has skills that aren't necessarily knowledge based?
So, Kat, what are you doing?
Well, as I said, very relationship driven, so that's a focus for me. One of the other things I'm doing is focusing on research, because AI needs data to be of value. So if I can support the use and creation of research, then that's one way that I can have impact. Another thing which I'm cognizant of is everyone's got development opportunities, and I'm never going to be immune from that. So it is talk to lots of people about their skills and expertise, and try to just integrate that a little bit into myself. And you can't do that perfectly, but every little 0.5%
Yeah.
helps get you there.
So true. Yeah.
But I also think it's just not really possible to plan 10 years into the future anymore.
Nah, me.
Anytime I've tried to plan beyond 5, I've never been right.
You see? Yeah. And now things tend to be moving so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I look at that as what's the enablement opportunity here,
Okay.
and the research plays into that a little bit. But also, how do we leverage this change and this pace of change, and view the opportunities that it brings, and then how do I become part of that opportunity?
Yeah, there you go.
It's where we do some cool stuff with AI in
Yeah.
terms in the governance risk compliance space,
Yeah.
to do threat assessment, risk assessment, controls design,
Yeah.
education, policy strategy, all of these things. 41, 42,001, which is the AI management standard.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are all things that we bring to an organization to go, now you're enabled, run free, innovate, improve the world.
Wow. Oh my God. Uh, I'm curious to hear more about, because that's one area that I keep thinking, okay, I wonder what people are going to do in the GRC space with regards to AI. What are areas where it's long overdue for real automation, but also where the leverage of AI could actually bring about real true transformation?
Now this is exciting because
Yeah.
something I'm working on with QUT
Okay.
is we did some research last year on using Gen AI for risk assessment,
Mhm.
and the error rates were the lowest error rate was 35%.
What?
The highest error rate was 98%. And we used this university research methods of testing the outcomes.
Mhm.
And so obviously Gen AI, you would not put it in production, you could not trust it.
Yeah, true.
But then we came up with this idea, well, what if we used strings, and we go each of the agents to perform a task that is required for risk assessment. And that brought the highest error rate down to about 65%.
Hmm.
Still, you wouldn't trust it and you later. So the next iteration is, well, we don't believe that Gen AI is the way to go. Why not use a more structured approach and use machine learning?
Okay.
And so this is where we're at the moment.
Still, Ukraine, yeah.
So we'll use machine learning and that iterative approach where each agent has its own role.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than producing a report that at the end, we'll produce the matrix with an executive summary. Because, as I said earlier, quite often when you receive a risk assessment report, you take all the useful bits out of it, put it in Excel, and then the report often gets made an attachment to a brief and
Yep.
really used beyond that.
So true. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the goal with this.
Okay.
And I've mentioned it to a few people.
Mm.
The next step for our research
Yeah.
is to define what a good risk assessment looks like,
Okay.
because then we know the target that we want to reach.
Interesting.
Also, we'll do surveys, and don't worry, you'll get the link.
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait. Oh my God, I'm very excited. Yeah. Wow.
But then people say things like, "Well, is that going to take my job?" And
Good question.
I
Yeah.
I understand
Uh-huh.
fear. I do understand that fear. But my response to that is, do you have enough time to do your job?
Exactly.
And I would say most people, the answer is probably no.
No.
And the data I used to back that up is the ANAO went and did an audit of Department of Defense, and only 2% of their systems had been through the full process required to receive approval to operate. So if Department of Defense with all of their resourcing is getting it right, only 2% of the time, then, um, so, but the other thing I'd add is it frees people up to use their talents to solve problems.
Exactly.
And achieve outcomes. And my personal preference would be to do that, because then you're having impact,
Yeah.
creating meaning.
Yeah.
Um,
Becomes a massive force multiplier for you. And um, this is the first time I would say in human history where you can also have a large scale impact if you are very deliberate.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
Man, so it is so exciting, scary at the same time. But for me, it's the excitement part that keeps me, you know, not only curious, but really, really hopeful about the future.
Yeah, I think we have to be.
Yeah.
But there's more reasons to be hopeful
Yeah,
than anything else.
absolutely. Wow. Kat, we've covered a lot of grounds. Now I'm gonna ask you, Actually, there's some few rapid fire that I intend to check with you. Still from my perplexity research. Um, GRC as a business enabler, we've touched on that. People first, security leadership. Yeah, it's something that also is quite consistent in your approach. And from my research on with you, research of you, what's that? What does that mean for you as a people first leadership? If you can.
I think it's the best way I know to have impact, because I can't, firstly for capacity reasons, but also capability reasons, you can't do everything yourself. So how do you become a force multiplier? And that's by leading people, and trusting and empowering them to have their own impact, and that has that ripple effect. So yeah, I think that's
That says it all.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mission driven organization.
Mhm.
Um,
So it's that social impact.
the social impact piece. Yeah, regulatory change as opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. So let's look at
I have to really be honest with you. This one and that one, I have a struggle with that one.
okay. Well, let's look at the amendments to the Privacy Act.
Okay.
So it is amongst other things introducing new Australian privacy principles. Specifically, um, the goal of them is to protect children
Yeah.
who can't necessarily have their own protection of their own digital assets, identity, and everything. So that's an opportunity to strengthen Australia's cyber resilience.
True.
One other aspect to it is um, if we look at the cybersecurity bill and it now has mandatory reporting for cyber extortion, well, you can now use that to inform your risk posture and your incident response plans, and possibly, maybe, use it for a little bit of funding that reduces the likelihood of being at risk of cyber extortion, um,
Oh,
and therefore strengthening your cyber posture.
see, I haven't thought of that. So true. I can't beat that. I agree. um, is there anything you wish we'll have touched on that I forgot to mention?
Something which
Yeah.
I hear a lot about
Yeah.
in industry is that we tend to be quite compliance driven.
Yes.
Um, and that has its place, but I advocate for a risk-based approach. And one of the just as an example, one of the things that most of the frameworks and standards tell us to do is cybersecurity education.
Right. Yes.
So we do our yearly refresher training and maybe we do our phishing simulations, but what impact does it really have?
To be honest, it barely moves the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research on that.
Okay.
Um, and what I found from looking at aviation and mining and public health campaigns and a few others is you've got to have at least 66 days of continuous messaging.
Wow.
The messaging has to be directly related to the individual's role.
Mm-hmm.
It has to happen as close as it can to the time of action, and it has to change. So you can't have the same message every day. Otherwise, you just go, "Oh, yeah, it's that message, click next," and off we go. Um, so this is something which it's very difficult. I can't imagine many organizations getting support for creating a program like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
which led me to, let's solve this problem.
Oh, really? You?
I haven't solved the problem,
Okay.
but I do have a really good case study.
Okay.
So, using data loss prevention,
Mm-hmm.
um, created rules which targeted a specific high risk behavior. And when that high risk behavior, which was exfiltration of medical information to multiple recipients, when that behavior was detected, it popped up a message going, hey, you're about to send medical information to multiple people, all of those people need that information. And we're able to test how often that email was sent before we implemented that DLP rule,
Wow,
and we reduced that by 73%.
that is so amazing. Have you written anything about this yet? Oh,
Well, a little bit,
yeah.
yeah, but I probably need to do a bit more.
Yeah, please, because we can link it in the show notes and have it. If there's an article on that on your page or anything like that, please share it because I think this would be quite beneficial. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. When we look at the number of notifiable data breaches the organization had for that specific risk, being able to reduce it that much was and it didn't impact legitimate emails. The email could still go out, it just changed people's behavior.
Yes. Yeah. Especially it's quite beneficial because something that will pop up, giving me that reminder saying, "Hey, do you actually want to do that?" Yeah. It's interesting. Wow, amazing. Kat, we have a closing tradition in this podcast
Okay.
where we ask two questions. The first one is, what's one quote or principle you live by in life, in career, and right now as a leader?
I want to quote the Terminator movies. The future is not set, there is no fate but what you make.
Say that again?
The future is not set, there is no fate but what you make.
Hmm.
So you've got to identify your goals and you have to actively pursue them. And if you're unhappy with something, it's on you to change that.
Amen to that. Wow, each time I think we've reached the pinnacle of it, then you give me another big punch as a wake-up call. So thank you for that.
I saw you were about to say it's time to watch Turner.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
answer is yes, it is.
yes. Wow, it's so true.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, look, there are obviously things outside of an individual's control.
Yeah.
And it's never as simple as that. But if something can be changed and it just requires bravery, often it's worth taking that step.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, genuinely, because that really hits deeply at its core, and I resonated with that quite heavily. So thank you. The second question card is what's one question right now that you are grappling with, that you are consciously, deeply have been seeking an answer for, and you haven't yet found that answer?
No. The Roman question, I'm told that's what it's called,
Okay.
is always what's next.
Hmm.
Who do I become next?
Do you feel you are at that stage of reinvention as well, yourself?
Always.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm not. You have moments where everything's working well. And you're very happy with that.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I tend to go, well, who do I want to be today? What impact do I want to have today? And how do I make tomorrow a little bit easier?
Yeah, because that is what I'm consciously thinking about myself as well these days. Yeah.
Have sense that.
Yeah. I mean, that reinvention phase deeply, and
So, perhaps for you, this little bit of advice might be meaningful, and it might not too. When I'm thinking out, and it's career related, I look at my career history. I write down everything I did in every job, and not just the good, the bad, the ugly. Write down everything, and then I get 3 highlighters, and I've got my highlight the green for the good, highlight the orange for the didn't hate it and I could do it again, and the pink because they don't make red highlighters for I never ever want to do this activity again. And then once you've finished that activity, you've got a list of things that you like doing and you've got direct experience in.
Hmm. I'm going to implement that tonight. At You might get that phone call. Accept. Thank you, Kat. Wow, what a session. You've been generous not with you, not only with your time, but really with um how you showed up, how you've carried us on this journey. But most important, really is your thought, how you think through things, how you problem solve. Is fascinating to just watch and listen, and to as I'm as we're having the conversation, at the same time, I'm trying to think through it as an observer, as an audience as well. And it's so fascinating to me. And I think I'm going to come out of this conversation thinking even more about the decision making process. Yeah. And how you are able to sort of find that tune. I think a part of it has to do with you really, really doing the work on understanding yourself, knowing yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and don't be afraid of errors. There's very few errors you'll make you can't walk back from.
Yeah, and in that too. So grateful for you for your time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Wow. And that's a wrap, everyone.